Om Bhurбhuvassuvaham Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayantam.
Sairam all of you. So we continue our videos on Sathya Sai and Prema Sai. So we are going to discuss more and more interesting questions, and this video based on your questions. And okay, as you know, I have a lot of videos in internet with my personal memories about Sathya Sai Baba, because I was a Sathya Sai translator for the Russian speaking group, so I have a lot of personal experiences and stories. And so I have a lot of videos about Sathya Sai, and also of course I have a lot of videos with huge and very interesting discussion on Prema Sai, all that quite interesting situation with number of candidates, and okay, what we have with Prema Sai tradition, which already growing actually. And this video based on your questions and the questions about what actually happened in Puttaparthi right now, what's happened in the Sathya Sai tradition, in India, globally speaking, in Russia, Europe, the United States, etc. 2011, it was spring. Sathya Sai left his physical body, and now we have a very powerful, in Sanskrit we call it Samadhi Mandiram. It means tomb with the relics of Sathya Sai in Puttaparthi itself, his main ashram. And of course, according to my opinion, and I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, agree with me that it's huge and a powerful place, perfect place for the personal prayer, meditation, amazing. I mean, that's the most powerful place in the world, according to my personal vision. I'm sure you agree with me. At the same time, of course, now we have different Sai devotees, different groups, and they have a different approach to the question, what going to be next. And first of all, let me say a few words about relics, this Samadhi Mandiram, this tomb itself. As you know, that Sai devotees basically belong to the different ethnic traditions and different religions as well. For example, this lifetime I'm Christian, because I believe in reincarnation, so it means when I say that I'm Christian, I mean to say this lifetime I'm Christian. There are many Sai devotees who are Hindu, Muslims, Jewish, Sikh, Jain, basically from all major religions, and in China and Japan there are many Buddhists, Taoists. So it means our approach to the Samadhi Mandiram depend on our cultural and religious background. And for many Hindu Sai devotees, it may sound strange, but let me remind you that in different religious traditions, actually, people have different approach to the question of relics. For example, in a Vedic Hindu tradition, for centuries and even more, people really worship to the relics of huge saints, sages, and that's part of Vedic Hindu tradition. So that means naturally we have Samadhi Mandiram of Shirdi Sai and now Sathya Sai, no question about it. But in a different world, global religions, the situation is not always so obvious. For example, I was born in Russia, and I'm actually not just Christian, but I'm Orthodox Christian. in Orthodox Christianity, as well in Roman Catholic Christianity, we have a tradition of relics. So it means different saints, Christians, saints and the sages, when they pass away, then people start to worship to the tomb relics. And for the Russian, for example, devotees of Sathya Sai, it's absolutely obvious that relics of Sathya Sai relics is the huge, artifact. But at the same time, for the Protestant Christians, Baptist Christians, relics is not something obvious and not something clear. If we take, for example, Muslims, and please notice that there are many Sai devotees who are Muslims, and in Russia, for example, half of them people who speak Russian language and visiting Puttaparthi, half of them are Christian, Orthodox Christian, and half of them Sunni Muslims. In a Sunni Muslim tradition and a Shiite Muslim tradition as well, they have also a respect to the relics, and also they have Islamic saints and the mystics, especially Sufi mystics, and in a Sufi Islamic tradition and in different branches of Sufi tradition, they have also tradition of to worship to them relics. That's the reason why if you right now go to Puttaparthi, you will see a lot of foreigners. And actually all of that foreigners, basically Russian-speaking people. And let me remind you, some of them are Orthodox Christians and some of them actually Muslims, mostly Sunni Muslims. And in Orthodox Christian tradition as well, in Sunni tradition, we have this respect to them, tomb relics of the great mystics, great saints, and of course Sathya Sai as a divine incarnation, as the Lord God himself, his tomb, his Samadhi Mandiram is a very special place for us. But at the same time, if you go right now to Puttaparthi, you will be surprised maybe that mostly no Germans, no Americans, no British people. And the question is why? Where all that people gone? And one of them most simple explanation is that, in Germany and the United States, Sai devotees, if they're not Indian origin, if they're so-called Christians from Europe and the United States, they often belong to the Protestant tradition, Baptist tradition, Anglican tradition, and they don't have actually tradition of relics, respect to the tomb of different saints, and they just can't understand the meaning of Samadhi Mandiram. So that's the cultural and religious background in this situation. Of course, it's slightly not so nice to discuss, and I don't want to go there into in all details. I'm sure you know many of the details yourself, but the first 2 or maybe 3 years it was a difficult time for the Puttaparthi ashram. Sathya Sai left his physical body 2011, and the first 2 or 3 years a lot of struggling, fighting for the power happened there. Different groups of administrators, even relatives of Sathya Sai, were trying to take, power, to take control over Puttaparthi ashram. That's a not nice part of the story, and actually, I'm sure that for the most of the Sai devotees, that's not even interesting. But at the same time, that's part of the history, that's part of the story. I mean, that's anyway some kind of management fighting. Anyway, happened just immediately after Sathya Sai left his physical body. Anyway, starting with the 2014, I believe, the stability is there. Administration, very good management. I'm really happy about management of the ashram after 2014. Huge ashram, perfect management. I'm really happy about how current leaders of the ashram are managing everything. It's really wonderful, and we have to be grateful. That's huge. And of course, we have a number of branches, let us say, in the Sathya Sai tradition right now. And, there is a group of people in Puttaparthi, both Indian and foreigners, and they somehow they are waiting for Sathya Sai to come back in his physical form. Yes, I'm sure you know about this kind of group, but there is a group, quite many people in Puttaparthi. They believe that one day Sathya Sai, can you imagine, come back to the Puttaparthi ashram physically, just physically. I don't know how that people hope to get this, how they expect Sathya Sai to come back, but anyway, they believe that quite physically he come back and reappear in his let us say old form as Sathya Sai. Anyway, that people stay in Puttaparthi, they pray, they meditate, and they expect this to happen. Of course, unfortunately now more and more channeling guys appear, and also just trying to attract people's mind, heart, and attention. Well, anyway, the most famous, of course, Madhusudan from Muddanahali ashram. He is the most famous, and really he is a very powerful guy with a huge supernatural power. And even if I myself not so interested in what Madhusudan is keep on doing in his Muddanahali ashram, even if I'm not interested in that personally, anyway, I have to to admit to accept, because if we wish to speak truth, we have to be truthful, and really admit that Madhusudan is a person with a huge supernatural power, and he is producing like a lot of miracles, including healing, clairvoyance, materializations, and he is able to attract a huge crowd of Sai devotees, and and people experiencing all kinds of divine states, and some blissful experiences in Muddanahali ashram. And so anyway, we have to speak about this, even if we don't like it actually. And anyway, Madhusudan, as the person who is doing his channeling from Sathya Sai, he's not alone. I mean to say, we have hundreds and even thousands of Sathya Sai devotees who actually basically proclaim the same, and just recently keep on come across such information that more and more people speaking about that they may receive certain messages from Sathya Sai, etc. And of course, that's personal choice for each and everyone to believe or not, to be part of this or not. Anyway, I think that one of the most important philosophical foundation of Sathya Sai tradition is that he was speaking about personal contact from heart to heart. And it means basically the right approach is if we anyway practice more meditation, more personal sadhana, and experience Sathya Sai personally for us, and then we don't need all that betweeners. Actually, the problem, the reason why Madhusudan is so successful and other people like Madhusudan are so successful, because actually people are lazy and they don't want to practice meditation and experience, Sathya Sai personally. They have a low self-esteem. Many people, they have very low self-esteem. They're not practicing meditation. They don't wish to believe in a possibility itself to kind of personal contact with the Lord God. That's the reason why they expect that people like Madhusudan, they do the job for them. That's very actually strange. And of course, if we right now discuss the Sathya Sai tradition right now, like kind of 8-9 years after he left his physical body, of course we have to speak about Prema Sai Baba, his next incarnation. Well, actually, the idea that Prema Sai Baba going to come, it's not somebody's fantasy. Basically, that's prediction given by Sathya Sai himself, because Sathya Sai himself, he predicted that maybe in 8 years, maybe in 1 year after he complete his mission as Sathya Sai, after 1 year or maybe after 8 years, next incarnation take place, next incarnation. And Sathya Sai even not just predicted that he's going to be born again, and Sathya Sai also predicted the name of this next incarnation, and that is Prema Sai Baba. Prema means divine love. And of course, I don't wish to speak about Prema Sai Baba in this video, because I have really a lot of videos about Prema Sai Baba discussion and all that, candidates and all that, predictions and different opinions. So let me not to speak about this question right now, but just of course, if we discuss the situation and put part of the situation with Sathya Sai tradition right now, of course, quite many Sathya Sai devotees, they're really enthusiastic and really interesting in Prema Sai incarnation, and some of the Sai devotees, they're not interested in Prema Sai at all, and that's also perfectly okay. And basically, what we know for sure, that Prema Sai, next incarnation of Sathya Sai, will not come back to the Puttaparthi ashram. So that we know for sure, because every time when Sathya Sai reincarnating again and again, he never come back to his old ashram. For example, Sathya Sai didn't come to Shirdi. Nothing like that happened actually. And the Prema Sai will not come to Puttaparthi as well. So I have a number of videos about different possibilities, different choices, about future Prema Sai ashram. And anyway, he's not planning to come back to the Puttaparthi. So it means tradition of Sathya Sai will exist, will grow by itself, the same way like we have absolutely as a separate branch, as a Shirdi Sai tradition, as a separate story. And so we have to, Sathya Sai tradition as a separate branch of the Sai tradition. So it means Prema Sai is like next step, next level. And some Sai devotees are really involved in that already, and some just don't pay attention because of actually many reasons. And one of them is because, actually spirituality is a meditation and self-inquiry. Spirituality means we have to discover and awake Lord God in our heart. And if some Sai devotees form of Sathya Sai is enough, then, well, there may be no need even to worry about Prema Sai, like next incarnation. But anyway, another reason why some Sai devotees trying to avoid these Prema Sai questions, because it's too difficult. I mean to say, not much clarity, at least for the mind. So it means because we have candidates and discussions and different, groups of Sai devotees already now supporting different candidates, Prema Sai candidates. So that's the reason why quite many Sai devotees, they choose, to keep distance, just kind of wait and see. That's more safe, just wait and see. Maybe it's also right. For example, I don't want to wait and see. I'm just trying to, jump into that situation and, see the candidates, analyze them. Of course, I have my own preference. I have my own personal connection with especially one candidate. But I'm interested and very much open-minded and open my heart to the, information about any number of candidates. So I choose not to wait and see, but I choose to jump and, into them, all that events. But anyway, what's in the end of this video, I wish to say that, of course, Sathya Sai Baba is a divine incarnation, at least for me, guys, and I'm sure for most of you as well. He is the Lord God who born on this wonderful planet Earth, and it means his tradition will grow just forever. It's like a never-ending process for Krishna tradition, for Buddha tradition, for Jesus tradition, never-ending process. And the same going to be in the case of Sathya Sai in his ashram, Puttaparthi village, Prashanti Nilayam, that's the name of the ashram itself. Now, okay, it's 8, 9, 10 years after Sathya Sai left his physical body, and what can we see? Really a lot of new devotees come, and many people to come, and I'm very happy about it because tradition is growing. Many new people come. That means we have a future, and of course we have future as a tradition because Sathya Sai is Lord God himself, and his relics, his name, his form is extremely powerful. Even right now, people experiencing, spiritual states and also healing power. That's the reason why Sathya Sai tradition will grow for sure. And of course, different people, they have different approach to the Sathya Sai himself and the way this tradition must grow. And I think that, okay, as you probably know pretty well, that in the end of such a kind of videos like this, I wish always to ask you to be cultural, to be respectful, because actually what we need mostly right now to respect each other, to be in a peace, it's easy to speak about love and compassion, but it's much more difficult to express it. And we have to express respect, love, and compassion. It means, okay, different Sai devotees, they try to practice, to achieve God, to understand the truth, to create this personal, from heart to heart, connection with the Sathya Sai the way they wish, and we have to respect and accept it. So, okay, I invite you to watch my videos, different videos on Prema Sai, all that interesting questions and discussions about many candidates and growing actually Prema Sai tradition. And also I invite you to watch my videos, a lot of videos with my personal memories about Sathya Sai Baba, and also, of course, many videos on Kriya Yoga meditation tradition, lucid dreams, etc. So God bless you, Sai Ram. See you next time.